Hello, my name's Gaverne Bennet and I'm here, along with others, to talk about the British Museum's African Kingdoms timeline. This is a chronological timeline showing African kingdoms and showing objects from those African kingdoms that are in the British Museum's collection here.
African history is so interesting and goes so far back in time to the very first objects that humans made. So it's been a real journey of discovery, really getting to do this project and to be able to now share this really incredible, exciting work with schools.
This wonderful timeline shows in an immediate way the richness of African kingdoms. African civilizations stretching not just back to the Romans, but much, much further back.
Each object in the timeline can provoke so many different stories and questions. They enable us to time travel back into the past.
Whilst this timeline only scratches the surface of what you can explore, it will allow you to contextualize not just these kingdoms and civilizations, but other kingdoms and civilizations, and it will make it accessible to everyone.
We're constantly working in collaboration on our learning programs with community partners, academics, curators and organisations, and we do this to exchange ideas and knowledge in a spirit of co-design.
How and why did you use the British Museum African Kingdoms timeline in your school?
Our school, like many schools, have been working on diversifying the curriculum for many years. And in January 2022, we officially launched our Representation Matters vision, and out of that was born the idea for a drop-down day. And so the African Kingdoms timeline provided an excellent platform which staff from across different curriculum areas could use and adapt it in a way to provide an out-of-classroom inclusive learning experience for all students across the school.
I'm just thinking, if you're a teacher and you're in a classroom and you want to do this.
I think that the starting point would be looking at something that you're already teaching and trying to establish like what might a link be, an organic link that you can make, and start small.
So Rosie, how did you introduce the timeline and integrate it into your school?
We actually used the timeline as part of a Black History drop-down day because we wanted to mark Black History Month by having a drop-down day, but also talking to staff and children that this was the start of Black History 365 because we wanted children to know and staff to know that Black History Month is for the whole year, basically. It's not just a month, it's embedded in our curriculum and it's something that should be part and parcel of what the children experience from day to day. We wanted to make sure there was representation in all the subjects. So one of the subjects was art and design, and we looked at Black British designers. And through that, we started off by looking at the cape from Congo, which is on the timeline. We showed the picture of that cape and the children had no information, it was just a picture. And then we got them to think about questions that they'd like to ask about the cape. Where was it from? What was it made of? How much do you think it cost? All of those questions, they came up with lots of different questions, which was great. I then disclosed to them the information around the cape, and they couldn't believe that this cape, it was from Africa. Wow. It was made from pine fibre.
I wish I'd been in the lesson.
It was, you know, it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And again, it was that starting point, using the timeline as that starting point.
So Rosie, what are the benefits of using objects, or the museum's objects in schools?
I think objects are tangible, and we know that when children have that opportunity to see an object in life, physically, and also to actually see an object that they've been exploring within the classroom, I think it just brings history to life and it makes it more real for the children. With objects you can tell stories and put stories in context, and also children can create their own stories around the object and looking at, you know, where has that object come from, how did it get to its destination. And also I think it's important because the information that the museum provides around each object reduces teachers' workload, so they're not having to go out and do all the research. It's accessible.
They're going to like that.
It's there.
I'm hoping that this African Kingdoms timeline will introduce you to a journey that I've been on all my life. When I was a small child, my mother took me to the British Museum every holiday. And that's part of the reason why I'm standing here. And I want you, your class, your children to share that sense of wonder that the British Museum can bring to you, and this timeline in particular. Because this history that we're talking about here sometimes has been ignored or neglected in the past. And what we're trying to do with this timeline is not introduce new historical stories from nowhere. We're trying to add a story to a story you know already. We're trying to expand our imaginations to see the past in a different way. And actually, we're making history a bit more interesting. In fact, if I can say, a bit more beautiful. So in the description below, we'll have a link to a blog where I'll be talking about my 5 favourite objects from this timeline. But we do encourage you to have a look yourself, visit the online collection yourself, or if you can't visit in person, and choose your 5 favourite objects and let us know what you love from amongst this collection.